the Mint Door Podcast with Dr. Karen Tyndall and Dr. Laura Schwint. Are you a high achiever feeling the burnout blues? Well, the Mint Door Podcast is your oasis. But before we introduce you to today's phenomenal guest, we're excited to extend an invitation to something extraordinary. We're mixing up the perfect antidote to burnout with our Mint Julep newsletter. It's a weekly dose of inspiration delivered straight to your inbox.
So each edition of the Mint Julep is more than just words on a page. It delivers connection, brimming with inspiration, positivity, and a dash of fun. Think of it as your virtual happy hour with a supportive community of high achievers. We'll help you unwind, recharge, and rediscover the joy in every day.
So subscribe to the Mint Julep and let's clink glasses or coffee mugs to live a more inspired, joyful life, 1 week at a time.
And if you're more of a visual learner, well, we've got you covered as well. All of our podcasts plus bite-sized coaching tips are on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@themintdoor. You can subscribe there for happiness on the go.
So for today's podcast, we'd like to welcome you back today to experience a wonderful guest. We're thrilled to have the incredible Dr. Valerie Woo joining us. A powerhouse entrepreneur, pediatric dentist, and mother of 4, Dr. Woo is a force to be reckoned with.
So get ready to be inspired. Dr. Woo has built an impressive career transforming chaotic dental practices into thriving businesses. In this episode, she'll share her insights on leadership, marketing, and operational systems, all while maintaining a healthy work-life balance. So tune in to learn how you can elevate your dental practice and achieve your boldest visions.
Well, hello, Mint Door listeners and watchers. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome to another episode of our podcast. And today we are just happy and excited to bring to you Dr. Valerie Woo. Valerie, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's always fun to have these conversations. And we were just talking about how wouldn't it be nice if we could just be sitting down to a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and having this conversation, but also too, how wonderful it is that we can connect from anywhere at any time with the magic of the internet, right?
Yes, absolutely. I hope that where you are right now, that you have as lovely as the weather as we are here in Northern Virginia.
This is the best time of year, isn't it? That kind of late summer, early fall.
Yeah, our favorite. It always, in this area, it always kind of gives us a little hint of fall, and then we kind of have a little bit of another heat blast, and then we get to that really nice fall weather.
Yeah, kind of tricks you a little.
A little bit, yes.
Awesome. Well, Valerie, I'm interested in a lot. Well, we're interested in a lot of what you are about, but mostly today, what I'd like to really focus in first is the strategies that you found most effective when prioritizing time or staying focused as you juggle the demands of a busy professional life as a successful entrepreneur, a mother of 4, and also finding time for yourself. What magic do you use?
Well, it wasn't always like that. There's a lot of trial and error, and I'm not saying that it was always a balanced life for me, for sure, because that was not the case. But when I was really in my prime and really feeling good, that's when you knew you had that magic combination of being able to stay focused where your feet were. And so before, I think people always thought that you could multitask and kind of juggle all the things all at once. And for me, I found that being present where your feet are and were is where you could actually have the most balance is because so if
Mhm.
I was at work, I was all about my patients, all about my team. And when I got home, my priority were my children and my husband. And I also scheduled time literally on my calendar for me. It's on my calendar so that I get that alert, whether it's even 10 minutes or driving home. That was where I was going to be able to focus. So I think for me, it was that blend of because I tried that whole trying to do all the things all at once. And I think that led for me personally to have more of a chaotic kind of mind. But for me to have more peace of mind was to always just make sure that wherever I was where I was supposed to be and where I needed to focus.
I really love that visual of just where your feet are. Like that
Yeah.
really brings it home. Like so many people talk about presence and it can feel kind of woo woo, right? But
Right.
if you
Yeah.
just bring it to the logistical where your feet are.
Yes. Like right now, I am all focused in on you and not thinking about anything else, like where my kids are, anything like that, because then you know that the energy that you are in is with that specific person. And like my eyes are on you, and that is where I am. And so that's where I feel the most fulfilled is because I know I'm being true to myself and authentic and like I'm here with you and nowhere else.
That's gorgeous. It makes me wonder, and I'm curious, was there a tipping point for you when there was the before you were where your feet were, and then what made you decide to change to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it was deep into the growing, like the scaling of my practice, where I didn't have all of my systems in place and literally everybody needed me, and I probably was, like, going like this, like, "I can't do it anymore," is when I knew that I was out of control. Because I mean, I'm not gonna say all dentists are like this, but I think we have a type of personality where we feel that we need to control everything, and when I was building the business, I mean, I had all of my kids live in the practice, and because that's what I originally thought was the best thing for me to do. But I think I realized that I wasn't being completely present because with my kids being in the practice and dealing with team and dealing with patients, I was my mind when I was at work was with everybody there because it was like a collision of everything. And when they were young, that's what I felt that I needed to do because I probably had some mom guilt that I wasn't at home on certain times, and I would bring them thinking that that would make me feel better, that they were at least physically there. But it all like when I look back, I feel that maybe I did not give myself the best service because I probably wasn't able to give 100% to everybody. And so I was kind of giving different percentages to everybody. And that's where I think I felt the chaos in my life because I felt very pulled instead
Mm.
of pulled, if that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. There's listening to your story, there's so much intentionality behind what you're doing and how you're choosing to live now. And even back then, when you were making the decisions about your children being at the practice, it was intentional. There was a reason behind it. Maybe you could share with us what lessons have you learned, maybe sort of like leadership lessons from your journey as a dentist and an entrepreneur. If you could share some of those.
Well, I think some of the lessons are that, I had this misbelief that I was the answer, had that I had to do everything because I was the one that was on the line, right? That I was the one that got the huge debt and the huge loan. And so I thought that it was fully my responsibility to make everything succeed. And it wasn't until I really was able to uh, improve my leadership skills and understand that letting go concept and really believing in the people that believe in my team, and really give them that responsibility, and for them to also believe in the vision of the practice, because the vision in the beginning might have been mine, but as I added amazing team members and got their input, it became more of like a whole team vision to come to life. And so by working together, and holding people accountable and empowering everybody in my team, I think that was, and to watch that kind of bloom in front of me made me realize that I wasn't the answer. It was actually the whole team, and that came to life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. So from what those lessons that you've learned for yourself, how do you use those to help your clients navigate challenges and keep inspiring, others and the members of their team and create that thriving work culture that you found?
I mean, it's really having those one-on-one conversations and being able to relate to their stage of where they are in their practice life.
Mhm.
And for me to hopefully help guide them through that journey of not making some of the very hard mistakes that I made, um, during that process. So, one of my clients, calls me her back pocket, meaning that when she's not sure about a decision that she's making, she kind of has me there for advice and to be like, is this a good move? Because sometimes not everybody can look more ahead on making a current decision and how that might affect them even 1 5 years down the road, and to kind of think more forward thinking than kind of what the current decision that needs to be made at that moment.
Mhm. Yeah. Sounds like you are the person that you wished you could have had when you
Yes.
were back there.
Yes, and that is exactly, I just had a master class last night, and that is exactly what I said my secret wish was. So I think I told you earlier that, I worked with a coach, Laura Brenner, when I was in this I was stuck in my career, not knowing what I wanted to do in my next season. And she allowed me to spend some time like really digging deep into what it was that what was my purpose, and who did I want to be. And that is exactly right. Like I really, when I looked back at my journey, I really wish that there was somebody, another female dentist who got me, that understood what I was going through, having kids and trying to figure it all out, that was ahead of me so that could guide me through that. And so that's what it dawned on me, that I want to be that person for this next generation of women. And I'm so excited for uh, the women that have reached out to me, that I seem to currently be attracting the women that are starting out, that are doing a startup, which is what I also did right out of residency. And I find that interesting that as I'm doing this journey, it's almost like I'm going from day one and being able to help guide them through this process,
Mhm.
because I really know it's still so deeply ingrained in me how I felt when I started the practice, and how those current feelings are still true, for no matter where are still true even 20 years from now, even
Mhm.
20 years later, I'm sorry, that people still have those same feelings come up. And dentistry can be very lonely. And yeah, I want to make it less lonely for them and give them the confidence that if they have this dream, that it can turn into reality.
That's going to be so fun. Especially, just seeing them starting off with their startups and imparting the wisdom and watching them avoid some of the mistakes that you maybe have made, and jump ahead a little faster than maybe you would have jumped ahead. And it's got to be just so fun, like almost like a do-over, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, it's all, I mean, it's, there's some parallels to having children, right? It's like sort of like having children, right? Like I have four, and you know, my daughter, who's my oldest, who is as old as my practice. So I had her and I opened the practice literally at the same exact time. And so now she's a second year in college. And, you know, with her being my only girl, I sometimes feel like I'm trying to help her also not necessarily make the same mistakes that I made as she's going through, like figuring out what her major is going to be and what she wants to do. And I'm not completely trying to influence her, but you know, I am sort of.
Well, that's just our nurturing mother way, right?
Yes, yes. And so that is, I mean, and then the practice has always obviously been my first baby. And so watching other women go through this process is definitely very rewarding and reminiscent. And I love the field of dentistry and how it's continuing to change, and how women are obviously becoming even more empowered and more now even are going into dentistry. So it's amazing to see how the industry is continuing to evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something when you were talking about working with, when you worked with your coach, Laura Brenner, and how you took time. And I'm curious because dentistry is pretty fast paced, and dentists have been on a treadmill of achievement and just going, going, going. So, how do you support and encourage your clients to take that time and get quiet and take care of themselves as well?
Yeah, I mean, self-care, I think is a, a 100% necessity in our industry for able to even be able to practice for a long period of time. Um, Funny you say it's like a treadmill. My partner and I at the practice have walking treadmills in our office so that even when we have just slight between moments in between patients, while we're looking at the schedule, we're just trying to move our feet because I don't know if you've ever worn, you know, we wear Garmin watches to count our steps. And even though we're working all day, and I'm going from chair to chair, you know, when the chairs are so close together, I'm not getting that many steps in an 8-hour day, and it was a little disheartening. So that's why we even got, especially during that, that's when we got our walking treadmills was during COVID. So we bought them because we obviously just spent a lot of time in the office, and we got those treadmills. You know, I think again, when we talked about being intentional, it's when you make that commitment to yourself and you realize that if you aren't fueled, that you have nothing left to give. So you need to refuel your body, however that is for you, right? Everybody is different. You know, I love to run. I also love to be in one of those red light saunas. So I do a lot of like metabolic, like exercise kind of stuff, but then I also do more meditative reading, journaling to refuel. So I go on both ends. And I think that it's a necessity in order to be your best for your patients, your team, your family, and ultimately for yourself, right?
Well, you're a good role model. And wonderful that you encourage your clients with that, because I think that's an important piece of like being that mentor too, is being that mentor that says, you know, take care of you.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's something that sometimes we think we'll have time for that later. Because again, a hard lesson for me too was, there were moments and seasons in in my dental career where I didn't take care of myself. And so that's what we talked about before, where I definitely was not my best self. And when you're not, you unintentionally take it out on other people, whether it's your team, your family, your husband, whoever. And that's when you really know that you're not your best self and that you need to stop, pause, reflect, do something to make sure that, you're back to who you know that you really are.
Yeah. So for people who are listening to this and what we're talking about, and they're getting tempted and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, what she's saying, this resonates with me. I want to do this. I'm in that situation. And at the beginning, you beautifully described that feeling of when you're in your practice and you're doing all these things. And you said you remember that feeling really well. And I think all of us remember that feeling of, I don't know, I feel it here in my chest when you talked about it. I'm like, ooh, to feel the tension. So for the person who is listening that wants to know more about you, you have a female dental practice success program. So would you mind sharing with us a little bit about what that is, what it looks like, what it involves?
Yes. So I just had my master class, yes, last night. And it launches on September 19th. It's Thursday for the next 8 weeks. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to talk about vision, leadership, external and internal marketing, business, and clinical operations. And so it's for any woman who is in any part of their journey of practice life, whether it's a startup, whether you're trying to scale your business, or if you're trying to exit and you're trying to figure out what you want to do next in terms of getting your practice ready for a sale or whatever it is that you want to do after that. But I have lived that whole journey. And so it is a group program, which I'm super excited about. So then we'll have, women can get together, be in a very safe environment where they can hopefully really talk about the real issues of what it's like to be where they currently are and where it is that they want to go. So I'm launching it, as I said, on September 19th. And if you go onto my Instagram, which is Dr. Valerie Woo, you should be able to see on my link tree how to join the program if you'd like to join.
That's cool. Groups are where the magic happens.
I believe so too.
It really does. That's so valuable to have that perspective of a number of people and all sharing. Yeah. And yeah, we love groups, so we can see that yours will be a success with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, when you're a solo practice owner, even if you're not, even if you have a partner, it can get lonely. It can feel isolating. It can feel, and so it is nice to come together and know that you're not alone in some of these feelings and challenges, right?
Yeah. And sometimes I think we as women may not always want to feel some of the feelings because we're so go, go, go when we're in the dental field that we don't have a moment to stop to truly dig deep on what it is that we're feeling. And then we like to put on that face that of course everything is fine because we have to just keep going. And so that's why I wanted to provide that space for women to really spend the time to think about it and connect with other women that are going through the same thing.
That's wonderful. I love that you're doing that. That's great. You also have a dental team growth journey framework. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is? And
Yes. So I have an ebook that that if you'd like to download, you can go onto my link tree and get that. But it really describes the journey of what it's like to create a team from beginning to basically creating that team that you've always wanted. So it starts off with that single dentist, when you're just the single dentist, just trying to create your concept of wanting to have a business and a practice. And so, whether or not you started right out of residency like I did, or you're an associate, you don't know all the things that are involved in running a practice. So in the beginning stages where you're the only team, you're developing all this knowledge. And at the same time, there's all of this chaos and overwhelm because you're not sure where to start or where to begin, because there's so much to do when you want to open up a practice. And then you have a single person team, right? Where you have one person that you're like, oh my gosh, finally, I have somebody that can help me along the way. And you're building connection with that person, and slowly starting to build your systems on, how to welcome a patient, what insurance is like, all those kinds of things. And so it builds into when you finally then have a front and a back team. And then what other challenges and opportunities you face as your team continues to grow, right? Then you have the generalist team. And then when you get to the highest level, which is the management team, so, right, then you have very well defined job descriptions for everybody, because before then you would have one or two people that knew how to do everything in the office. And then slowly as you grow, you start to divide and conquer and then really get into your systems, where at that point where you as the dentist will then finally have some accountability and freedom, not only for yourself, but for the entire team. So I talk about that journey and how you can get to that next level, and what you need to focus on and what challenges and opportunities arise.
Sounds very valuable. I wish I would have had that back in the day. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, you have put some very deep thought, and we can tell also a big piece of your heart into what you do. And so let us know, what are the best ways to get a hold of you? You mentioned Instagram, but do you have a website, or how can people find out more?
Yes, I do have a website. It's drvaleriewoo.com. So that's drvaleriewoo.com. You can also email me at val at drvaleriewoo.com. So that's probably the best way. You could always also book a discovery call if you'd like to work one-on-one with me as well, or if you'd like to join our female dental practice success program.
Fantastic. Well, this has been great. And again, I think Karen said it, but gosh, wish we had people like you back when we were baby dentists. And so thank you for giving this gift to the current women that are stepping into this great world of dentistry right now. Is there anything else that we didn't cover today, or anything other piece of wisdom you'd love to share with us today?
No, I mean, I really just want to thank you. I'm super grateful for you having me on your podcast, and really just connecting with other women is what I'm super excited about again in this next season. So it's always about being your best and making time for yourself. So thank you again so much.
Yeah. Wow. Those are good words of wisdom. Being your best self and taking care of yourself. So awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Valerie Woo. We enjoyed our conversation today. And listeners, we hope you found some encouragement. Know that we adore you, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Knit Door Podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and subscribe for more holistic performance content.